Okay, so I'm just getting my files set back up. That way I can continue. Alright, so I'll be back over into Photoshop in a moment. I'm just grabbing that file that I was working on the last time real quick so I can load the image up into it. But when we left off, I needed to fix the shoulder and neck area on the bikini because the way it displaced with the mesh, it didn't quite line up anymore. So that needed to be fixed, as well as the stripes up top here needed to be brought down a slight bit. I might actually just get rid of those for that part of it. It might be easier. Let's see. Tell that I want to derive from it. And in the meantime, I will go up here. I have my orange already selected. And I'm just going to hide these out because it'll make it a little easier on my part. Alright, now those are hidden. I am going to need to bring my UV map back up. I need to name these so I don't get rid of them by accident. And I'll make a new layer. This is going to be the shoulder area. Excuse me. And I need to go here. Bikini. Apply. Okay. So we need to there we go. And I put that human head back on for now. Okay. So I need to fix the neck, which the neck should be fairly fixed after the stripes are taken out. And I gotta fix this shoulder / neck area here, which it looks mostly like I just need to fix the area on the chest to get it to line up better. Alright, so we will take a look at how it is with those stripes taken out first. Alright, it looks better. So now we gotta fix that area. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this up a bit and I have my orange. Just going to I'm gonna bring it right above this layer here because I still want it under the purple. Paste. Well, control transform, duplicate, and then I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna merge the layers, and I'm gonna blur. I'm gonna take the UV map off and save it. Tell it okay. I think I saved it on the wrong layer again. So let's resave that. Okay. I did. That means I got to save the other layer again. Alright. So that looks a lot better there. I'm gonna want to do the same over on the neck just a little bit, because it's not a very big area. Just gonna want to spill paint there. And Control Z first. gonna spill paint, and I'm gonna blur it. I don't think I brought it up high enough on the bottom one, so I'm gonna bring it. There we go. Hide my UV map. Tell it to save. Tell it yes. Yeah, I did it again until I'm getting tired because I saved it on the wrong thing. Okay. Tell it to apply. That's much better. It's more blended. Let's see. That should take care of it for the female. So I'm going to just gonna pose her real quick so I can get it, a bit of it into the icon. Yeah, I don't need to save extra into my library. Open my screenshot, and I'm going to select this area here. I'm going to crop it and resize it by 100. I'm going to drag it over, pull it down to where it belongs. And then once again, I'm going to resize it inside of the icon. And I'm going to name this Kini. And I'm going to tell this to save as a PNG over the other file and tell it yes. And at the same time, I'm going to pull this over here and do what I did before to fix the one thing. Save as PNG, because I don't want to save over my original file for in case I ever need to go back and edit something. Okay. Alright, now I have my icon. I also need to open up my editor pad, upload, paste that, my one thing, put my new icon in, tell it to submit, and while that is happening, I'm going to close this out because I don't need that anymore. I'm going to go to my dress up. Select my dev fit, and my room is taking a moment to load because of my cache clearing. Oops. Publish. Might close that out. as well as that. Let's see, that is taking forever. I don't know why. I don't need that open. Alright, I'll close dress up out for a second because it seems to have an error at the moment. Easily fixed though. So I'm gonna load my bikini and my fur, and I'm gonna save it. Well, I'm gonna put my head on too. Head. And now I'm going to save her over to a specific folder that I load them into so that I know exactly where to grab them from. It's going to take a moment for that to load up. And while that is happening, I'll go back into Photoshop, and I'm going to minimize that for now. Get rid of this. Pull up my head for my male and my female. I'm going to bring the male's head down to 1% view because I should be able to, for the head at least, copy over everything. And this on soft light, and I had duplicated it. So I should be able to save him as a PNG. Excuse me. Save her now. And go back over to here. Let's save 200%. We can minimize that now. And I feel like I'm going to need to bring the black marks down a bit. So I'm going to select both those layers and move them down by 2. I'm going to check my UV map for this section, and I'm going to bring that up by 1. I'm going to resave. Tell it yes. I'm going to go into the Create tab again, tell it to derive new, grab from male and skin. So it'll open up that. And I'm going to grab my male deving fit. I'm going to put the head on. Tell it to apply. And because it is a griffin, it's going to have more bird-like face, so I'm probably going to go with more of a human head anyways. So I do not want that one. I don't want that one. we will go with this head. I'm gonna take away those eyebrows, but I need to have it on the male one. There we go. Alright, so that looks relatively good for the one on the male head. Now I gotta do the body. And I'm gonna save this, and I'm gonna close it out because I don't need it anymore. Same with the female head, which is already saved. And close that out. I bring my male body over, and I already know I'm gonna need these soft light layers, so I'm gonna do that to both of them before dropping the new layer down. I'm gonna select my almost white color. Paste it in there, and because you'll notice this here, the legs on the male and the female are two totally different lengths. The male's legs are shorter, and his torso is a little bit longer. His arms are a little fatter coming down this way. So I'm not going to quite be able to just transfer over that, but for the most part I should be able to transfer over the stripes. So we're going to do that real quick. Like before, I bring it down to 1% and I drag it over, so it should bring it roughly where I need it to be, although I will need to make some adjustments. Bring that up to 200%. And I'm going to change this to a hard light layer so I can see it a bit better. The arms are roughly in the right place, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to grab both of the others, and I'm going to drag it down just a little bit. And then I'm going to grab the legs. Oops, that's not the legs. This is the legs. I'm going to bring them down. But what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to delete one of the sides, because as you can see, it goes out of the bounds a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this section, I'm going to hit Control T to transform it, and I'm gonna tilt it a little bit and tell it to enter, and then I'm gonna transform again, and I'm gonna scrunch it up just a little bit because his legs are longer. On the female, the stripes really only go just a bit below the knee, so we want to bring it to right about there. And oops. So now that's pretty much where I need it to be. So I can select all after duplicating, hit Control T, go to image, edit, edit transform horizontally. To put that where it needs to be. So now I have this little bit of gap here on the male because his torso is longer. So what I'm going to want to do there is I'm going to want to select my brush tool after I select my proper color, and I just need to add in a couple more stripes. So I'm going to go over and grab my stripe tool. I'm going to size it down a bit, and I'm going to tilt it to the direction that I need it to be. And I'm going to make it one smaller, and that should be good. Make it one more smaller and tilt it just a tiny bit more. And put it right there. I'm going to again select and transform and flip it horizontally. so it's on both sides, and I named those backwards. I can now merge these two layers together. So my stripes are done. I don't need to worry about that on this. So I want to now grab my orange again, and I'm going to reference from the female. Okay. On this, I did start with the hands first, so that's where I'm going to start again here. Hands and arms. Spill my paint. I'm going to create a new layer, deselect, and I want all of the arm. And I'm going to duplicate that, shift and bring it over. Now I can bring those layers together, make another new layer, and the area here on the neck on the male is a little bit different than it is on the female. It only has 3 points, whereas the other one has like 4 or 5. So I'm going to go from this first point first. I'm going to bring the color down. And I'm going to on him bring it down to about the 3rd line. 1, 2, 3 is right there, and now I bring it down around his knee like I did before, and up around his butt cheek. And spill my paint. Select all, transform and duplicate. Duplicate, select all, transform and flip horizontally. Merge my layers. And go back to filter, Gaussian blur, and set it to 5 because that's where I did it on the female. Tell it OK. And because we're using the same head from the male, at least for the colors transferred over, we really want to work on the neck at this point before we start working on the chest. That way we can make sure that the neck and chest line up with each other. So if we're going to bring it down to about the 2nd spot for right now, because it's better to make it a little less than to overshoot it at first. And then we're gonna bring my brush up a little higher, and I'm gonna blur it on both ends. I'm gonna turn my UV map off and save. Tell it OK. And go back over to here and add apply, and we can see that that's not quite far enough over, so I'll probably bring it over to the next one. going to make a new layer. And I'm gonna spill paint. And do the same over here. And I'm gonna blur those. Turn my map off. Tell it to save again. Go back over here. Load the file up. And that's about right. That's a little bit too far over. So we need to trim it back just a little bit. So I'm gonna select it, hit Control T, and hold my Shift key and move it 2 pixels up. And I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Control T, and move it 2 pixels down. And I'm gonna save. Go back into here. Apply. There we go. And now that looks good. Now, because the way the male neck is done is different than the female neck, I need to work on getting this area this triangle area to match up with that section, which is roughly where I want it to be to begin with. So once I get that matched up, all I really need to do is fix the how solid this section is over here compared to the neck area there. But we'll also look in here. I need to add a little bit of orange into the bottom of the leg, like we did on the female. So we'll go back into Photoshop. I'll bring my UV map up, and I can merge those layers together now and make a new layer. And I believe it is I'll test it out first. So I can't remember if the male's neck is flipped opposite of the female or not. But I'm going to grab from the center section and hold my Shift key down so I get a perfect 45-degree angle. And I'm going to spill my paint. And I'm only going to test it on the one side for now. And back over to IMVU. Go into the editor, reselect my file, and hit apply. And it's on this side, so yes, it is the bottom. It is the same. So it looks like I'm gonna blend it first to see if it needs to be adjusted more or not. I'm gonna make it smaller. Blur lightly. I'm also gonna duplicate it, bring it down to the other side. I'm gonna apply it, and I'm gonna, it looks like I brought it way up there by accident. I'm gonna tell it to go about right there, because that seems about right. and tell it to save. Go back into the editor and apply. And it literally only looks like I only need to add a little bit into it. But otherwise, it looks pretty decent. So, go back into Photoshop, and I can leave the neck area alone. Go up to this section, and I just need to follow where my orange already is, and I think that that's right about right there. So I will test out by blurring right there, and if it looks proper, then I'm gonna duplicate it and flip it over to the other side. Alright, I'm gonna apply it, and that is just about right, but it looks like I need to darken just a little bit on my neck part, so that's proper. I can duplicate it over. It'd be easier to do that on the neck, in my personal opinion. So now there's that. I'm gonna go down here, and I'm just gonna go down and go over it a little bit more. And I believe I need to bring it down to. I need to flip that vertically. I'm just going to use my mouse to move this one. It's right there, I believe. And merge and blur. And tell it to save. Tell it yes. Go back into here and apply. And it looks like it's a little too much. So I'm going to select it, Control T, and bring it up by 1 for now. I'm going to bring this down by 1 for now. Save it. And tell it OK. And I was on the wrong layer again by accident. Sorry, guys. Alright, go to the edit. Apply. And it looks like the left side needs to go over a bit more, and probably by like 2 more, and the right side can go over by 1. So now that I'm in the right section, this down here is our left, and it was my left that needed to go over by 2. Let's go. Press it down, and that up, tell it to save, say yes, editor, apply. That looks a lot better. That is decent. I'll let that be as it is. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Alright, so now, don't worry. Yeah, don't mind the weird poses. I don't have a good male pose pack for my avatars. I just have good female ones. So yeah, you'll have to overlook the weirdness of my avatars. Okay, so now I need my blue, which I already have on the underside, so flip it over. And I'll bring this back down to 200% since I'm not working on a small area. I bring my UV map back up. I'll start way under like I did before. Excuse me. And I'll go on the 4th line on this one. 2, 3, 4. Oops. It does not want me making fine-tuned selections. I go down and around. I make this thin over here around the kneecap. And then down, up around this section. And I'm going to spill my paint on the, I'm going to spill on the correct layer. This needs to be below. And I'm going to transform, flip it horizontally. I'm going to merge the 2 layers. And I'm going to use my blur. And like before, some of my areas are going to be a little further out than I want them to be, so I'm just going to touch those up by spilling paint in the area above it, and then I'll delete with that same section. Duplicate, transform horizontally. And merge them. Select all and transform. Move my arrow keys up and down until it deletes. And I'll lightly blur those areas so that they're not sharp. And like the other one, I'm going to duplicate the layer so it's a little bit more vivid. I'm going to hide my UV map, tell it to save. Go to PNG, say yes. I go over here. Go to the editor, upload and apply it. I still need to add the orange section there. I need to fix the blue on his belly here. And it looks like I need to fix a little bit of the orange on his back. So we'll do the blue on the belly first. So bring my UV map up. I will merge those 2 layers together. I'll get rid of that other layer. And I'm going to bring this up so I can see what I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, a little bit past the 4th. 1, 2, 3, Alright. So I'm going to Make this directly on the lines. One, two, three, four. Right there. And I'm going to take a different color like before. Transform it. Move it horizontally. Merge them together. Select and transform. I'll hide that layer. I'll delete. I'll take my blur tool and blur lightly on both those sections. Oops. On both sides. And I'll take the UV map off and save it. Tell it OK. Back over here. And duplicate. It's a lot better, but the top needs to line up better. So go back over into Photoshop. Bring the UV map up. I'm going to select my blue. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's showing that this needs a little bit more. So I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm not sure how much more, a little bit more is what I'm going to need, so I'm going to go a little bit at a time. And I'm going to blur it. Duplicate, transform, merge horizontally, tell it OK, take the map off, save, go to PNG, say yes and OK. Go back into the editor and apply my changes. It's a little bit better. I just need to make the bottom section on both sides a little bit more darker where the blur is. So I bring my UV map up. I can now merge all those together. And it's this section right here that I need to darken. So I'm going to spill my paint. Hit Control D. And I'm going to lightly touch up it with the blur tool before transforming it over. Save as a PNG. Oh, yeah, save as a PNG. Tell it yes and OK. I'm going to edit. Tell it to apply. It's much better. It's much better on both sides. So now we gotta do the orange. Actually, the orange doesn't look so bad on those, but we're gonna be picky today and take care of it. So I am this section. The bottom needs less. So I'll go above. Use a different color. The bottom needs just a little bit less in the area that's blurred. So we're gonna do that there. Blur it so that it still has a blur to it. When we go and delete, merge the layers and hide it, and delete from that layer. I'm going to take the map off. I'm going to save as PNG. Tell it yes. And then we're going to go back over into the editor. Tell it to apply. And that's much better on both sides. So now we need to take care of the leg where the orange is. Drop that down a bit more. And make a new layer. And get rid of that. And our areas from right about there. Right about there. I might have to adjust it a little bit, but we're gonna go from right there and go over, and I forgot to put my UV map on. So I'm gonna line up from that line and go over. And I only really need this section here. Excuse me. I'm gonna make sure I have my right color selected. And spill paint. What happened to my selection? There it is, spill paint. Spill paint. Pretty sure that I'm gonna do that on another layer because I feel like that was on the wrong section. Okay, and we're gonna duplicate and move it across, and merge layers. And I'm gonna make the brush a little bigger for my blur. I'm gonna turn my map off and save. Go back over here. Okay, so I wanted to go to the editor, edit, far down for where I need it. So I gotta adjust that. Control T, and I'm gonna shrink it up a bit. And I'll save. Say yes. And switch back over. Tell it to apply. It actually looks like I did need to be down a bit further, but I can. It's very light there, so I'm actually gonna want to do a light blur in that section. So I'm gonna spill my paint and I'm gonna blur it a bunch. Flip it over and tell it to save. Say yes. And I was on the wrong view again. Sorry, guys. Sleepy me forgets to add parts. Okay, so I need to make my orange more noticeable over there. So I'm going to copy this, paste it. That's about the same. And I'm going to bring it over. And I'm going to do the same to the other side. Actually, nope. I'm going to select all, transform, edit, flip it horizontally. And then I'll hide my map. Save it. Switch back over. Ah, I did it again. I'm so sleepy. Alright, that's a lot better. I'm not too terribly worried about it being very sharp right there. So now I gotta do the dark part on the back, and I also gotta add the feathers in. I'm gonna make this two-sided. So I'm gonna drop this down, merge those, and I'm gonna open up my template section again. I'm going to bring this down to 1% and drop my feathers. Oh, it's too big. I need to resize this again. Drop that in there. Tell it yes. Resize this. Bring this up to here. And okay. Alright. So I sorry, wrong screen. I resized my feather text again, and I dragged and dropped it over onto the mail, and then I brought it up above the base template texture. So now I need to grab my dark navy blue. I'll size this up. And make a new layer. And we're going to go about right here. Oh, I also need to put my UV map on. So I'm going to go from right about here down to the first on both. And spill paint. Duplicate. This is horizontal. Merge the two. I'm going to use my Gaussian blur at a 5. And I also need to do the hands. So I'm going to grab the pinkish purple for my hands. Just like I did before on the female. And I'm going to spill paint. and make a new layer. Do it up here. I'm going to duplicate the layer. And hold shift and bring it across. And merge the two. And use my Gaussian blur, and we did this at a 2 last time. So we're going to do it on a 2 on this one. Take the UV map off. Save it. Tell it OK. Go back over to here. Oh. Oh. Go to my editor. Tell it to load the new one up and apply it. So there's that. And his hands. And that would be all of the mail done. So now, bear with me, I'm going to try and find a semi-decent pose for him to be in. Or he's not all messed up. That'll work. And go back into Photoshop. Bring up my icon and a screenshot. Okay. Crop it. Change the image size by 100. Drag. Also save this right now, because now that this is finished, I'm not going to need to use it again, so I can close that out. Bring this into here. Get rid of the old layer. Shrink this down a bit. Oops. And hold on my shift very well. Shrink it down a bit. That's too small. So I'm going to bring it right to about there. And I'm going to select the different areas to get rid of those. And then I'm going to select all and crop to get rid of any excess that's outside of the bounds. And excuse me, I change this to fur and switch that from male to female. Sorry, female to male. I'm gonna save it as a PNG. Tell it to save. I'm gonna say yes and hit OK. I'll go back into the editor. Tell it to save. Name it. Give it a rating. Put the tags in and grab my icon. And my profit. And tell it to submit. And I'm going to tell it to publish. And I'm going to go into my dress up. To my dev fits. I'm going to select my male. And I'm going to select the new New fur. I think it's taking a moment for it to load because I have it going through peer review. Because I've noticed if I try to put it on before I put it through peer review, it loads perfectly without an issue. But the moment I have it waiting to go through peer review, it takes a moment. It has passed, so it should take a moment before. There we go. I just had to go in and out of the screen. And I'm going to change his head because, like earlier, I stated that because it's going to be a griffin, I'm probably going to give him more of a human head where he's going to have the beak. So I'll set that up right now so I don't have to worry about it afterwards. Just gotta remember which head I used. It's this one. And go here, the eyes, take the eyebrows off.